Greetings, people of the interwebs. Jake here, and this is a new segment that I'll be trying out. That for now I'm going to call Comic Book Corner. Where basically I'll just kind of run down some recent comic book news, whether it be news from actual comics themselves, the comic movies, shows, what have you. Because sometimes there's a lot of stuff that happens throughout the media that we don't always get to talk about in the podcast. So some of the stuff that we probably will cover in the next podcast we'll be doing probably on Tuesday. But this is just kind of like brief information, just kind of like covering it, my general thoughts, and then whatever makes it into the podcast on Tuesday or whatever time we get together next week. We'll go a bit more in depth because most of the time we can only get together like once a week, so we kind of miss out on some things going on in the movie, TV world, and comic world. So hopefully you all will enjoy this new segment. But I'm going to start off with recently Warner Brothers and DC essentially promoted Geoff Johns to the creative consultant of the DC Cinematic Universe. So he's now more or less the Kevin Feige of the DC movies, which I think is a really smart choice. Geoff Johns has been working with DC for a while. He's one of their best writers. He knows the characters. He knows the lore, the mythos. So I thought that was a really great choice to essentially bring him on as the overseer of this cinematic universe. Because he was already an executive producer, already involved with a lot of the DC movies, but I don't think he was very hands-on. Whereas now, again, he'll be very hands-on and just overseeing the whole thing, making sure it all goes over very smoothly, and hopefully, the DC universe won't hit any more road bumps like it did with Batman v Superman. Which, say what you will about the movie, whether you liked it or didn't like it, and even though it did do well financially, it didn't do nearly as well as what the Warner Brothers executives and everyone over at DC were expecting it to. Which, that could be for various reasons that I won't get into. But yeah, overall I think that was a really smart choice on their part. Because again, Geoff Johns knows the material. He's been with DC for a while, so smart choice. So next up is Michael Keaton is apparently back in talks with Marvel to be in the Spider-Man Homecoming film coming out, I believe, July of next year. Because for a while he was being courted by Marvel, and I imagine they were in heavy negotiations, but then all of a sudden he dropped out for unknown reasons. Or at least unknown to me. I haven't heard anything as to why he dropped out. But now he's back in talks with Marvel, so I think now that he's back in talks, I think there's a really good chance that they'll lock him down for the Spider-Man movie. And again, I think he's being rumored to be the villain, which a lot of people are rooting for. Norman Osborn or the Vulture seem to be the two most popular. And me personally, I think we've actually talked about it on a previous podcast, one of our last podcasts. But I guess to kind of like recap, I'd be fine with either one, whether he be Norman Osborn or the Vulture. But at the same time, I guess the sort of downside with Norman Osborn is, we've already seen Norman Osborn in the first Spider-Man trilogy, played by Willem Dafoe, who did an amazing job. And I don't remember if Norman Osborn was in the Amazing Spider-Man movies or not. But anyways, if he is playing Norman Osborn, I'm all for it. Michael Keaton's a great actor, and whatever you put him in, he's going to be great. But at the same time, though, I think I would actually prefer him to play someone like Vulture, who's a villain we haven't seen yet as a live action. He's only a villain that we've seen in the comics and in the animated series. So I think it'd be really cool to see Vulture or just some of these other villains, because Spider-Man, next to Batman, probably have the two best rogues galleries in all of comics. So I think, again, as cool as it would be for him to play Norman Osborn, and I think that would actually be perfect, I would actually prefer him to play Vulture, just so that way we kind of change it up a little bit. And also, I believe Vulture was one of Spider-Man's first villains in the comics. And since this is the homecoming of Spider-Man being in the MCU, I think it would be actually very fitting for him to play Vulture, one of Spider-Man's first villains. But that's just my opinion. And again, hopefully they'll officially announce who, or officially cast him and announce who he's going to play in the next, hopefully, couple weeks, maybe by next month. But also, speaking of casting, Michael B. Jordan was recently cast in Black Panther, or the upcoming Black Panther movie, in an unspecified role, but a lot of people presuming he's a villain. Again, I'm all for this. Michael B. Jordan's a fantastic actor, and just so far everything about the Black Panther movie seems to be shaping up to be a really good movie. So you've got Chadwick Boseman, who, in my opinion, stole essentially every scene in Civil War as Black Panther or T'Challa. So I'm all for just Marvel continuously adding talent to all their movies. And I think it's just, it's really fitting because the director Ryan Coogler also worked with Michael B. Jordan in Creed and Fruitvale Station. So clearly they've got a good rapport, they've got a good relationship with each other, so makes sense. And hopefully, this is just me crossing my fingers here, that will mean that since he's going to be in Black Panther, that will kill any shot at the sequel to Fantastic Four that Fox are threatening us with. Because recently, Simon Kinberg, one of the producers, was, I guess, entertaining the notion of doing a Fantastic Four sequel, which is idiotic. It's ludicrous. There is no reason to do that. I don't care what potential they think there may be. It's a dumb idea. Because, well, no one saw the Fantastic Four reboot anyways. I saw it, and a handful of other people, but no one really liked it. And it flopped financially and critically. Just sell it back to Marvel. That's just my opinion, though. If you did enjoy the Fantastic Four movie, hats off to you. More power to you for enjoying the movie. I'm glad some people got enjoyment out of it. I did not. I thought it was a steaming pile of garbage. But hey, that's just my opinion. But again, having Michael B. Jordan Black Panther, to me, that's almost... I hope that's a reassurance that, again, there won't be a sequel to Fantastic Four, and somehow or another, Fox will work out a deal with Marvel to where they'll sell the rights to Fantastic Four to Marvel in exchange for something that'll benefit Fox. That's just my hope anyways, but we'll see. Then also with Marvel casting, Thor Ragnarok recently cast Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master and Karl Urban as the Scourge the Executioner. So I'm not that savvy on either of the two characters. I really like Thor. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters and probably my favorite Avenger character, but I haven't read any of the comics with those two characters in it. However, I'm a big fan of Jeff Goldblum, and I'm a big fan of Karl Urban. So I'm all for this casting. I was already really looking forward to seeing Thor Ragnarok. But now my excitement for this movie and anticipation has just increased even more with this casting. Because again, both fantastic actors. I like pretty much everything they've done. And I'm on the very off chance, I'm really hoping that maybe Karl Urban being in a Marvel movie will hopefully propel his popularity, because he's a very underrated actor and a phenomenal actor who was also in a very underrated comic movie, Dread, which, for those of you who have not seen that movie, you need to go see that movie. Just rent it, buy it, do whatever you gotta do to see that movie. It was amazing, and sadly it didn't do that well financially, so I'm really hoping that maybe seeing whatever his portrayal of Scourge is in Thor Ragnarok, people will give Dread another chance. Although there's also talks of maybe doing a Netflix series, or at least that's what Karl Urban is kind of championing for, if not a movie sequel, at least like a Netflix continuation, which I would be all for. In a way, I'd also maybe even prefer a Netflix series, because Dread's a really cool character. There's a lot that they can explore in that universe, and I think Netflix would be a really great way to propel that series and just continue it from the amazing, incredibly underrated movie that was Dread. So that's just my hopes. As I don't know, unlikely as it may be, but hey, I can dream. Then I guess lastly, on the whole comic book news that's going on right now, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware that Preacher, which is one of the most controversial and I guess famous comics from the 1990s that went on into the early 2000s, by Garth Ennis, which, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite writers. The man can do no wrong. Everything I've read by him has been amazing. Preacher, of course, being one of them. So that airs this Sunday at 10 p.m. on AMC. So I'm really looking forward to watching that, and hopefully it'll be... Obviously, there'll be a lot of differences from the comics for various reasons, but I'm really hoping that it'll be good. Obviously, it'll be different, but hopefully it'll be different enough to where it'll appease both the casual watchers of the show and just, maybe fans of AMC and all their programming, and also the fans of the comics, such as myself and the more avid comic readers. Because I haven't actually read all of the Preacher comics, but from what I have read, it was amazing, and now that the show's coming out, I'm definitely going to have to binge read the rest of the volumes. But I'm really looking forward to it. I like the cast, even though they don't really fit the characters, I guess, like in their appearance, I guess, because like Dominic Cooper, really good actor, would not have casted him personally as Jesse Custer, just because he, again, phenomenal actor, just not who I would have cast. But hey, again, the show's obviously going to be different from the comics, and Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are helping run the show, and I like most of the things that they've done in the movies and stuff like that. And they're big fans of the source material as well, so I'm hoping that that's more reason why they'll stay as faithful to the comics as possible within the realms of what they can do on AMC. But, aside from differences, that's to be expected with any kind of adaptation, whether it be a movie or TV show from, a comic or a book or whatever. That's to be expected, so I'm really hoping that they can, again, find that good balance of appeasing both the fans of the people who watch the show, who know nothing of the comics, and then, of course, appeasing, perhaps most importantly, the comic readers. So, that pretty much wraps up this new little segment I might do more of, if it's popular enough. But before I wrap this up, I would actually like to promote something regarding Preacher. So a lot of you may be already aware that I've joined up with the Film Beef podcast over on Film Beef, where I do a Game of Thrones recap show. Also, I'll be starting a Preacher recap show every week as well. So you can find me recapping Game of Thrones Season 6 and Preacher. So if you're a fan of either one of those two, feel free to go over to Film Beef. And again, on a weekly basis, they'll have the recap shows uploaded, and you can check that out. And here are our thoughts on the most recent episodes of Game of Thrones and Preacher, which I'm really looking forward to doing. It's a lot of fun doing the recap show and just overall being a part of the Film Beef podcast. They're cool guys over there, so you should check them out. And also, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, a share, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel and this is your first time listening. We're almost at 100 subscribers. So, I'm really hoping to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the summer, and then, I don't know, I'll probably do like a live stream or something like that, once the channel reaches 100 subscribers, and, I don't know, maybe try and make the live stream out, into like an interactive podcast or something like that, for you lovely fans and subscribers who have helped us get to this point. But also, again, before I wrap this up, you can find me on Twitter at IrishmanJake, all one word. Comics Amino, also IrishmanJake, which most of you know me from that app. And of course, go check out the Facebook page, Pace of Hell Productions, where you can kind of get updates and release dates on when, like, what the new videos are, what the topics are going to be on podcasts, or when they're going to be uploaded. And then, of course, you can also follow the Pasty Pale Pro Twitter page for kind of the same stuff, just news on like when we're uploading, what we're doing, and all that stuff. So that wraps up this new segment. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. And until next time, everyone, cheers.